How are we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. We're doing a discussion tonight, and we're carrying on with the subscribers' requests. A few days ago, I put out a video celebrating 800 subscribers, and I said in that video, if anyone's got any requests or any ideas of future videos, just put it in the comments and I'll do them. So we're carrying on tonight with that. So this is for Christopher Jackson. And I mentioned in the video, I've got, well, for my all-time favourite metal albums, I've got two that are neck and neck, and I can't decide which one is my favourite. It's, you know, it really depends on the day. And he put in a comment saying, yeah, go for it. Do have the clash go on. So here we are. I did intend to have it as like a bit of a surprise, a bit of a reveal, but you've seen the fun now. Here we go. So... yeah, my two all-time favourite metal albums are Metallica, Master of Puppets, and Death Symbolic. Shall I give you a bit of vinyl? A bit of vinyl porn at the beginning? I think this is just standard black, and it's a standard edition, really. This comes with I got that all singing, all dancing, big box edition that Metallica have been doing with yeah, it's just a black. It's stuck in the sleeve as well. So yeah, nothing you've not seen before. This symbolic edition though is pretty cool. But yeah, you know those big box sets with CDs, cassettes, DVDs, big coffee table book. I've got the first four albums of that with Metallica, and yeah, so that came with that edition of it. I'm not going to go unboxing the whole thing for you, but but I'm sure you've seen it. You know what it is. But yeah, this is a pretty cool edition of Symbolic. This is... it is a limited edition, but I'm not sure how many they made. Is it marked here? It's Metal Blade, so... I mean, it's limited edition compared to the last, 10 editions that they've done. But yeah, perfect white vinyl. Oh, here we go. Look at that. So, I mean, I had it on CD forever, but I sort of said I wasn't just going to get everything on vinyl. I was just going to get the, ultimate classics, and that'd be the end of it. And I don't know, the vinyl bug wore off on me pretty quick, to be honest. I find it ought to be a bit more hassle than it's worth, and it certainly doesn't warrant the money, but I didn't pay too much for this, so yeah, pretty cool to have. And yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, these two albums have been neck and neck for years of my all-time favourite albums. I mean, I think both are 10 out of 10. Both are masterpieces. Both are just perfect metal albums. Both are just everything I look for in a metal album. All the elements are just perfectly mixed together. I've got obviously history with the both albums as well. I mean, you can't. This is the thing as well. You always get this with when a new album from a band comes out, and you go, "Oh, this is the best thing they've ever done," or "This is the best thing." And you're thinking, how can you compare an album that you've had for a couple of years, or even multiple? It could be decades old. Say Metallica, for example, put out a new album tomorrow, and you go, "Oh, this is the best thing they've ever done." So, well, how can you compare that to something that they released in the 80s? So I understand that having time with an album obviously affects what you think about it and all the rest of it. But and I do get albums that I listen to today where I'm getting the same vibe that I get from these albums. So I know that I'm potentially, I could like this album in years to come because I'm getting all the same feelings that I get from these two albums, and they're ticking all the same boxes. So, that it's a good indicator. But it's something I measure, real masterpieces today to these two albums. I'm not sure which one I heard first. I mean, obviously getting into metal at school and all the rest of it, everyone heard of Metallica. I mean, I think I got into Metallica through the Black Album. I think a friend of mine lent me the Black Album. And then as we're going, you know, into school, the last couple of years of school, going into college. But my first edition of this album, in fact, both of these albums, Luke, who I do Maiden Cast with, he didn't get me into Metallica. I was well aware of who Metallica was. But for my 18th birthday, he bought me this album on CD. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. And it's still up there somewhere behind me. I've still got that edition that he bought me. And it was also him that introduced me to Death, in particular this album, Symbolic. And I was just getting into death metal. We both were exposed to a band from Scotland called Madman is Absolute. I did a video on them. There was also Nadir, who was a local band. And then off the back of that, I'd got into At the Gates. And yeah, I was getting into... I could take death metal. Obviously, you get into heavier music through stages. You sort of get to a certain band, you sort of reach your limit, and then that limit, you get used to them, and then you go one step further and one step further. And, that's how you gradually get into heavier music. And yeah, I found myself getting into death metal, and Luke said to me, Symbolic was one of those albums, a bit like At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul, that mixed the technicality and the ferocity and the heaviness of death metal, but with melody. And I think he thought that would be like a good, stepping stone to get into heavier stuff. And he actually gave me a pirate copy, like a copied version of it. So it was on this blank CD, and it had this artwork cut out on it, but it was black and white. It had just a black and white photocopy of this artwork just cut out and put in there. But I had that CD for ages. And do you know what? People forget now. Like, it wasn't that long ago, but the only time I ever saw Symbolic on CD was in a market stall in Camden. I couldn't find it in a record shop anywhere. And yet, years later, I can get it on a white vinyl at the click of a button. The instant, access via YouTube or Spotify, that mystery and that excitement of an album that was just impossible to find, and and there you are in Camden at a market store, and it's there. They've got it. Take my money. I don't care how much it is. I think a lot of kids today do miss out on that excitement, But I would say, Master of Puppets just made sense instantly. I knew songs like Battery. I knew Master of Puppets. It was the rest of the album I got into, songs like Orion and whatnot. And but Symbolic, that album just, everything just hit me at once, and I don't even know what I thought of it for the first couple of years of listening to it. I just knew I was intrigued by it and just wanted to just keep playing it again and again and again. And it's only, I think, even in recent years, just even started to make sense. And as much as there's this, this wall of sound and detail and all the technicality of it and the melodies and the musicianship, but it's still deeply rooted in classic metal. Even just riffs, opening riffs, like I'm trying to think of the song now. Is that Thousand Eyes? But I've just listened to both albums just now, back to back. I did Master of Puppets first and then Symbolic, and I was just, even now I'm just like, I can't decide. I just can't decide. They're both just they're both so perfect. Yeah, I don't even know if I want to decide. This is my all-time favourite album. This is number one on a Tuesday, but then this takes number one on a Wednesday. I mean, shall we go head to head, or shall I just carry on talking about what I like about them both? It's funny because they've both got their parallels. They're both bands reaching a certain peak in terms of their musicianship, but also in their songwriting. Like you could, in order to, if you matched up the musicianship, you could go right, Lars Ulrich on drums versus Gene Hoglan on drums. And I'm not a Lars Ulrich hater by any means. I know it's pretty trendy to bash him at the moment, but it has been for years. But Lars's drumming is perfect for this album. But yeah, Gene Hoglan versus Lars Ulrich. I mean, it's a first round knockout. Let's not be, let's not get it fucking twisted. But then again, Death have got Gene Hoglan, but Metallica have got Cliff Burton. Not that the bass player on this album is a slouch by any sense. In fact, this guy's drummed on two of my favourite death metal albums. Kelly Conlon, yeah. Kelly's not only played bass on this album, he also played bass on Monstrosity's In Divine. Maybe I'm brain fart now. The third album. It's my favourite album. I can't remember what it's called. That's what I'm like when I'm on camera. I want to say In Divine. Bear with me. I've got to look it up now. In Dark Purity. There we go. But yeah, that's another masterpiece album. But in fact, Monstrosity, now I'm saying it, now I've brought them up. Monstrosity are the bands I find that can match, that the only band that matched what Death were doing in their later half of their career, i.e. from the Human album onwards. Monstrosity matched that with their, especially with In Dark Purity, and their last two albums, Passage of Existence and what was the last one called? No, that was called Passage of Existence, wasn't it? No, I've done a Monstrosity retrospective. You can go and watch that. But in fact, there's a bands that have released an album this year where I am like, wow, finally I found a band that are carrying on Death's legacy. But when that CD arrives, we'll be talking about that then. But I mean, yeah, just going head to head. Let's say like what one. I guess I prefer Metallica's vocals. I think Chuck Schuldina's vocals are an acquired taste on this. Could say that. You could say this is a bit more accessible, a bit more memorable. You know, when you've got songs like Things That Should Not Be with that dun dun bum 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 bum. You know, it's got more groove, more straightforward headbanging. Leper Messiah, da dum ba da dum bum ba. You know, it's a bit simpler and a bit more accessible. But that's the beauty of Symbolic, is that simple melodies, and they are all in there. They're just hidden in the detail, and they come to the surface on subsequent listens. I mean, you know, you can't say Sacred Serenity. That would be a hit single if they toned certain elements down. But you know, that. But yeah, where this has more technical riffs, it's made up. It's balanced out by the melodies. And then even songs like Misanthrope or Perennial Quest have these nice sort of chunky, you know, or Perennial Quest, no, you know, it's got that start-stoppy sort of chunky, I don't know what I'm saying, riffs, but it's, you know, it's got like that funky sort of catchy sort of beatdowny riffs. But you know, Crystal Mountain now is considered as a classic metal song as well. And don't forget, you know, there's songs from this album that have been recorded with orchestras now. You know, and this album was completely re-recorded by a band, a dark synthwave or whatever it's called. So yeah, it was just all done on synthesizers. So it just goes to show as well, like as multi-layered as these songs and interwoven these songs are, the melodies are there that they can be adopted either by an orchestra or by synthesizers. But I mean, we could talk about lyrics. I mean, the lyrics on this album are just so deep. I mean, just reading the lyrics along tonight is just so many, you know, thought-provoking, just so many different themes. I mean, no other death metal band was. I mean, there'll be someone in the comments saying, "Actually, this band did." Do you remember when things seemed so eternal? Heroes were so real, their magic frozen in time. Or obviously the chorus, I close my eyes and sink within myself, relive the gift of precious memories, in need of a fix called innocence. Or the closing, symbolic acts so vivid, yet at the same time were invisible. And then there's themes of a dystopian future in things like A Thousand Eyes or Without Judgment. Read the lyrics to both of those songs, and did Chuck call it or what? But then again, there's great lyrics here, but I think the lyrics on Symbolic are a bit more personal, while Master of Puppets, tackles themes that are a bit more universal. I mean, Battery is basically, as far as I see it anyway, it's just Metallica just describing their sound. Master of Puppets is about addiction. Thing That Should Not Be is H.P. Lovecraft, basically Cthulhu. Welcome Home, Sanitarium is pretty self-explanatory, as well as Leper Messiah, Disposable Heroes. But yeah, here we go. Master of Puppets has the masterpiece, which is Orion. What an amazing instrumental that is, and that just goes off on so many different tangents. I mean, it's practically prog rock, and then it just finishes with a straightforward, but just amazing damaging. But then you get this, and the way it closes with Perennial Quest, the way the album just rings out with that, just rings out with it there, and then you get that acoustic melody with the solo licks over the top of it. And yeah, I was going to say, the solo on Master of Puppets is just, it's just divine. That, I mean, I saw Metallica closing the Download Festival in 2006, and they did Master of Puppets in full, and they didn't even announce they were going to do it until they did it there and then. So they came on stage, opened with Creeping Death, did about 6 or 7 songs, and then it came over the screens either side of the stage. This year marks whatever anniversary of Master of Puppets, and then right now for the first time, Master of Puppets is being played in full, and I just grabbed the bloke next to me like we was watching a football game, and the team just scored the winning goal. We were just like, yes! And I remember that day, like during the solo of Master of Puppets, and it was during the sunset, and it was a religious experience, And I still feel that now. I even still felt it today when I listened to the album. When it comes to that solo, I just closed my eyes and, just pictured like this burning sunset and just lost myself in it. And, a solo like that is just amazing. But then again, Symbolic has got loads of solos like that, just loads of licks and melodies, like just these little melodic masterpieces, just peppered throughout the whole album. Just talking about Perennial Quest, but then just that main melody in the solo and the chorus of Sacred Serenity, that Symbolic itself though is just a fantastic song. But then there's Empty Words as well, that beautiful atmospheric song. I mean, that introduction, that dee 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 dee, with the little bum 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 bum, even that's got like a bit of a Middle Eastern vibe to it. That could have been used by Nile. But Crystal Mountain as well. I mean, Thousand Eyes, that you know, the solos on this are just, I can't do it. I honestly can't. I can't decide. Like, this is the thing. I would say this has the edge musically, like in terms of musicianship. But then again, I don't really give a shit about musicianship. I'm talking about songwriting and storytelling and emotion. You know, who gives a shit? I mean, if all we did was judge bands on their musicianship and like, their technical ability, then well, Dream Theater would be as big as Iron Maiden, and I can't finish. I've never been able to sit through I've never sit through a Dream Theater album. I've never been able to sit through a Dream Theater song. The musicianship's amazing, but the fact of the matter is, I'm bored. Yeah, here we go. Anyway, so maybe one day I'll do like a top 10, like favourite metal albums or something like that. But I don't know, I'm just looking for something here. But yeah, I mean, I like what everyone else likes. You know, I mean, I could do a top 10 and go, right, you know these two. Now let's do another 10. But, and you know, Rust in Peace, and I mean, Darkness Descends by Dark Angel is my favourite thrash metal album. You all know that now. But then, you know, Painkiller, Judas Priest, Alice in Hell by Annihilator. You got Bruce Dickinson, The Chemical Wedding, Armoured Saints, Symbol of Salvation. You know, the list goes up. Malevolent Creation. I have even got, well, I did do a retrospective with Darren Miller. Yeah, that's happened as well, isn't it? I did the retrospective with Darren Miller, and then like a month later he joined the band, and now he's just, left the band. I like to hear what happened there, and I think I can guess. But yeah, I mean, some of that stuff's some of my favourites as well. So yeah, that list, just narrowing it down to 10 is just impossible. But no matter what albums I do, you know, no, it's definitely these 10. Or maybe this one. Oh yeah, but what about that one? And then if I forget, Holy Terror, Terror and Submission. No, not is it Terror and Submission? What's the second album? The second Holy Terror album. I mean, both albums are perfect, pretty much. One's like 9 out of 10, the other one's 10 out of 10. But you know, but no matter what that list is, no matter how much I lengthen it and shorten it again, these two are always at the top, and I can never ever decide what number one is. And I don't know. Should I really? I mean, they're both masterpieces in their own way. You know, I don't know. It goes on. What would you judge an album on in order to decide? I mean, I don't want to do like some stupid points-based system. I mean, it's still not going to make me feel any better if I did. I watched the one the other day where this guy did a Mind Wars. Sorry, I was just looking it up. Mind Wars by Holy Terror. That's one of my favourite thrash metal albums. But then again, you know, some of my favourite albums. I mean, Master of Puppets. I mean, again with Master of Puppets, slowly behind that, and I'm starting to think maybe that might be my favourite actually. I love Ride the Lightning, and that's just as perfect in its own way, in its imperfectness, in its rawness, in where they hadn't quite reached the peak that they had reached with Master of Puppets. That little one step ahead, one step beforehand. It's got a charm to it. I mean, I remember speaking to a chef, and I was talking about Gordon Ramsay. I was like, you know, I bet you'd love to have a 3 Michelin star and all that stuff. And he went, yeah, but, you know, Gordon Ramsay's restaurant at the moment is 3 Michelin stars, But Gordon Ramsay's in America filming this TV show, and he's here filming this TV show, and he's here and here filming all these TV shows while his restaurant is a 3-star restaurant. But his restaurant was better when it had 1 Michelin star, and it was Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen every night, you know. And there's a bit of that with Ride the Lightning. But you know, when it comes to my favourite albums, I could write out a list. In fact, I did do a list. It's about 10, 15 albums. Wasn't one Iron Maiden album in there, or Black Sabbath, or Thin Lizzy. But Thin Lizzy, Black Sabbath, and Iron Maiden are my favourite bands. So when I come to my favourite music, I just go Iron Maiden, the whole catalogue. I couldn't pick an album. So it's fun. But Death I include in that as well. I think Death pretty much as close as to perfect as a back catalogue as you can get. I think every album's a masterpiece. Even the one album I'm not really that fond of, I still love it. So it's funny that Death is the only band that I can go, right, that's one album that's my favourite, but I also love the whole catalogue. I don't love the whole of Metallica's catalogue. I do love the whole of Iron Maiden's catalogue, but I wouldn't pick an album as, yeah. You see where I'm going with this. So, I don't know. I'm ranting and rambling. I'm just entertaining the thought, really, and just having a discussion with myself. I don't know. It does have a Ryan, though, doesn't it? And Battery and they are things that should not be. Is a pretty much perfect song. But I do love Sacred Serenity. And I love Perennial Quest. I don't know. Damn. I think this is my favourite. I think this is my favourite. Here we go. Death Symbolic is my favourite. No, Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets. Definitely my favourite. Definitely my favourite. I don't know. I can't decide.